Hey. Okay, so if you're watching the last live stream I tried to do about 10 seconds ago, my camera, I have a new setup. I was so excited. I've got my ring light. I've got my new microphone. Hey. I have external camera because the one on my computer isn't that great. And my external camera just crapped out. I don't know why. Hey, Kim can see and hear me now, so that's good. So the sound is better, but the video quality isn't. I don't know if it's an issue with the cord because it was just like a purple screen. And then I unplugged it, hoping it would switch to my my computer camera if I unplugged the external camera, but it just went black. So anyway, if you're new here and you're like, why is she talking about this? It's because I planned a live, but it's not going as planned. But that is part of what happens when you go live. My name is Sheeta D. I am here to talk to you about my experience getting residency in Mexico. Let me see if I can fix this camera a bit. I hate it when I have technical problems because I feel like I'm a little frazzled, but y'all are with me. You know, I get frazzled. I get technical difficulties. Okay, so I posted a video 2 weeks ago about my experience maybe 3 weeks ago in the US getting the first half of the residency done, because for most countries, you cannot start your residency process while you're in the country. You have to go to another country. And so today I'm talking about the second part of the process in Mexico, which is finalizing the visa. So I had a visa stamp in my passport, which I meant to have here, but it is not here. But it's in my last video if you need to see it. I had a residency, a stamp that said I had 30 days from the day I entered the country to finalize the residency process. And so that is what I did. And this is what this video is about, kind of the ordeal, which is kind of a strong word for it. But what I went through to get that done. And I want to say good morning to everyone who's here. Hi, Kim. Hi, Angie. Hi, Alexis. Hi, Glenda. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Joel. And hey, Kevin. Hey, Alexis. Again, if you're watching this on the replay, give me a little comment. Let me know you're in the replay. And thanks, everybody, for showing up today. If you have questions about Mexican residency, drop them in the comments and while I'm here live, and I will try to answer them. But I'm frazzled. This did not start as planned, so we'll see what happens. Okay. First thing to know is that the INM, that's the Mexican Immigration Department, has very clear rules on its website about what you need to do and what you need to bring with you to an INM office to get your residency approved. The INM's website is not right. It is not at all. What they ask for and what you actually need are like two worlds apart. How they tell you the process is going to go and what actually happens, completely different thing. It just night and day. So a lot of it is kind of figuring it out on your own, or Adelia, Picky Girl Travels, just chimed in, or asking someone who knows. So Adelia was my person who knew. So I sent her like 3,000 texts that when I was trying to figure out exactly what to do, because where the website is clear, it's clear, you know what to do. You go there, you do it. But then like the next step doesn't happen. And you're like, how am I supposed to do this? So it helps to have someone who knows, which is why I'm here to tell you about my process, because maybe this will be helpful for you if you're considering doing it. Marin says, as long as I'm not staying over 6 months, I shouldn't have to do this, right? If you are on a tourist visa, they generally give 6 months. Sometimes they give less than 6 months if you do a lot of border runs. But generally, if you're just coming down for 6 months, you're fine. S. Hughes says, do they expect you to file for citizenship after obtaining residency? They don't expect you to. It is a path to citizenship if you want it, but it's not an expectation. You can get permanent residency, so you can be a resident for the rest of your life, or temporary residency. I have temporary residency. I have to renew it in a year. And then after 4 years, I can get permanent residency for the rest of my life. Or unless they tell me to leave and never come back, which shouldn't happen, but you never know. Okay. About the confusion, I made notes because I was like, there was a lot of confusion. Let's talk about it. The first step is that once you do the part you have to do outside of Mexico, I recommend also doing your paperwork then as well. I had a harder time getting things printed and copied here than I would have if I did it at my mom's house in the US because she got a printer, she got a copier, right? Here, I don't have that stuff. So I was like, okay, where can I get this done? I went to Office Depot and got everything I needed printed and copied with very little Spanish. Printar, copiar, right? Like I made my way. With very little Spanish, I got it done and it was like $2 for everything I needed. So it was cheap, but it was also like I had to leave the house, which I don't love to do. So that was a thing. All right. There is an online form that you fill out. And on that online form, it asks a lot of different questions. It is in Spanish. My laptop translated it, so that was easy. Lots of drop-down menus. Where are you from? What's your nationality? Where are you born? Nothing too complex. Then there is a basic form, which they also tell you to fill out. They want, after you fill out the online form, which goes into their system, you're supposed to get an email with a password. That password allows you to enter back into their system, print out a form to pay at the bank because you have to pay for the step. It was 4,413 pesos. Let me check that number. Yes, 4,413 pesos for that. Print out the form, go to the bank, pay it, bring your receipt and 2 copies of your receipt to the office, and that shows that you paid it. I never got an email with a password. I did the form and never got an email. Okay. It was a Friday night late when I was filling out this form, and I guess I wasn't on my game. The first time I filled out the form, I had my birth date wrong. I'm not going to blame them for that, right? Like that was my fault. They accepted the form, but I didn't get an email with a password. So I don't know if because my records didn't match their records, they were like, nah, girl, this ain't it. But I never got that information. And it's not like I got an email saying, no, this isn't right. I didn't get anything at all. So I thought I was right, and I just didn't get an email. Still not sure if that's what's going on. Okay, so I print out everything. Let me show you what everything looks like. These are the papers I had left over after I went. This is the form you fill out and take with you to the bank. They did the highlighting because you have to make sure it matches if your receipt from the bank does not match the form from the government exactly, all the numbers, there are a couple different numbers on there. If it doesn't match exactly, they will not accept it. And so you'll have paid $220 that you're not going to get back. So you need to check the numbers to make sure everything is exact. Okay, so this is I'm trying to show y'all forms, I'm not giving you too much information. The INM online form isn't that long, it's 2 pages. I filled it out wrong twice. One was my birth date, totally my fault. Second time, it's questionable whose fault that is. We'll talk about that. They want to copy my passport. They asked for 2 copies of everything, but then only needed 1 copy. I would have been fine with 1 copy. But if their website asks for 2 copies, bring 2 copies. It's my tax return. I just did that the other day while I was doing this. Some people have needed a letter saying why they want to live here. So I have a letter. I showed them a letter and they were like, no, girl, we don't care about that. Take that and go. But they made me sign something else there that day. A copy, the original and the copy of the FMM form, which is what you get when you come into the country. And it says this one, most people say they have 180 days. Mine here says I have 30 days because you have 30 days once you come to the country to get that done. Okay, so Adelia is saying when she did when she did her process, the name on her bank receipt was wrong and she had to play sad foreigner to get them to accept it. Yeah, they're sticklers for correct information. This is a copy of the visa that you get stuck in your passport when you do the US form. I'm telling you all these things for a reason. I was told you needed a bill that showed your address. They were like, gone with that shit. We do not care. There were so many things that it says you need, and they were just like, let's get to the basics. We don't care about that. All right, so this is another copy of the INM form. This was the one where he told me I was wrong. We're gonna get to that. This is my approved form, which took a while. Copy the letter. This is the error. I didn't sign any of the documents that I had, which is really just the online form, which you have to print out and bring with you. I signed it when I got there, just to make sure everything was right. And no one cared about that. This is what the bank receipt looks like. Lots of stuff. This is a copy of it. They, of course, kept the original. I think I needed 2 copies because they kept an original and a copy, and they wanted me to have a copy. They also, I told you they require a basic form. No one looked at it at all. There's a whole 2-page form you fill out. No one. That is mandatory. No one looked at it. Jolitha asks, are things different if you're looking for permanent residency? I do not believe so. The fees might be different, but the process itself, I don't think it's any different. Okay. So let's talk about what I expected. I showed you a lot of the paperwork. But let's talk about what I expected to happen and what really happened, because this is where I think it's going to be of real interest to you guys to figure out what you need to do when you're going through this. Do you need to arrive in country to finalize the residency process for permanent residency as well? Yes, you need to do that within 6 months of getting approved. You need to enter the country. Okay. Within 6 months of getting approved, I think you need to get the process done, and you only have 30 days from the day you enter the country to get it done. So I don't know if you can do the 6 months and add that 30 days on the back end, or whether that all needs to happen within the first 6 months. I think it's within the first 6 months. Ms. Bailey says, what website can I go to apply for residency? If you just search for residency or temporary residency or permanent residency in Mexico, it'll pop up. It's the INM's website, but I don't know it off the top of my head. Okay, let me get to the good stuff about what was different, what was unexpected. Okay, so I told you, you go online, you fill out the form, you print out the form, you receive a password in an email, or you don't. You print out the form for payment, you take it to the bank, you get the receipt, you make copies of what I showed you, you take the receipt and paperwork to your appointment. Okay. I also saw my good friend Adelia sent me a text one day that was like, the new process, which I think she got this information from someone else. The new process is that you have to have an appointment to do the CONHE. This is the CONHE process. It's where you trade your visa for your residency card, which I also did not bring with me today. I don't know why. But you trade the 30-day visa, which I got, or I'm sorry, the visa in my passport. I showed you the page earlier. You trade that for the residency card. It's the CONHE process. So they say you need an appointment to do the CONHE process. I went through the process of getting an appointment twice. It did not work either time. It did not work. So I was like, I have 4 days left of my 30 days. I'm showing up. So I show up and I go to the information desk and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help, right? There's a guy in the front. This is in the Mexico City office in Polanco, right by the Costco aquarium, that area right there. It's right there. if that makes no sense to you, I went to Costco immediately after getting this done. There's an aquarium, there's 2 museums there's 2 big shopping malls. It's a very popular area. And so if you have to go to Mexico City to do it, or if you have to come to this part of town, there's a lot of other stuff you can do. Make a day out of it if you're not at INM all day. And I was not. So I'm going to tell you everything that I went through and then how long it all took. Okay. So I did the Kanhei, did the process. I'm sorry. Walked in, I told her I want to do the Kanhei. They were like, okay, cool. Hey, Corinne. They were like, cool, great. Sit down, someone look at your paperwork. So I sat down for maybe like 10 minutes max. And they went through my paperwork. She was like, yes, it's all good. Looked at my passport. Everything is good. Where's your proof of payment? And I was like, I don't have proof of payment because I never got a form. So she printed out the form that I showed you earlier, the one that's highlighted, which I put somewhere, this one. She printed it out, gave it to me, and then was like, all right, go pay that at a bank. Bring back 2 copies of the receipt. She told me 2 copies of the receipt and then sent me on my way. And then I stopped to talk to the English speaking guy who kind of like was traffic control for people coming in. And when I stopped to talk to him, she came back over and was like, bring two copies of it was very important to her that I understood 2 copies of the receipt. So I understood it the first time, but she came back over and was like, no, you need to understand. You bring back 2 copies of the receipt. I was like, okay, I got you. 2 copies of the receipt. Here's the thing to know about Mexico City. 9 times out of 10, if you see a bank, there's a line of like 30 people waiting. And that was not on my spirit that day. Like if I had to do that, then I would have had to come back a second day for the rest of the process because I didn't have that. I didn't have it in me. So I stopped the English speaking guy and I was like, I need to go to the bank. Where is there a bank around here that doesn't have lines? He was like, there's one right on this block. Just go down the street. And I was like, no, for real though. Like for real. Like I say like very, very a short line, like 3 people in line. Because they're all outside in line in the weather. I don't want that. And he was like, no, trust me. He's like, go down the block. There was 1 person at a window and 2 tellers. So there was absolutely no line. It was a Scotiabank. I believe it's a Scotiabank that is a block away from the INM office in Polanco. If you need to pay for anything, go there. Go early in the morning, but definitely go there. Awesome, cool. Went to the bank, came back, and now I'm like, okay, so where do I go now? Like I'm ready to go. Process of paperwork. Let's do this. This is much easier than I thought it was going to be. So I go back to there's a security guard out front. I should have mentioned this before. There's a security guard out front. You tell him what you want to do. He sends you to where you need to go. So I go to security guard. He sends me inside. Nope. He sends me to the first time I get there. He sends me inside, and then there is security inside. I think I had to walk through a metal detector. Maybe gave him my bag, or they looked inside my bag. I think they looked inside my purse. Okay. So this time he sends me to a side door, and I go talk to someone. He's like, do you have a line? Do you have an appointment? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, we'll wait in line. Fortunately, the line was 1 person long. So I'm the second person in line, feeling good. Somebody else comes and calls. There's a couple people behind me now, calls us all in. So we sit down, and then 1 person comes over. It's like the INM office in Mexico City I describe it best as like a hive. Like there are so many worker bees, and they are moving and they are doing, and you have no idea what's going on, but they're just like, come with me, and you go with them. And they told me to go to a numbered window. So I go to a numbered window guide. I'm ready to go. Tanya, I am not fluent in Spanish. I am very mediocre in Spanish, but there was enough Spanish spoken in that office, enough English spoken in that office that I could get by. There was 1 person I spoke to one person I did most of my interactions with did not speak English, but there was a person 2 seats over from her that did. And every once in a while, she would just like yell the translation down at me. She could see that we were struggling, and she'd be like, okay, that form is blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, okay, thank you. So people really tried to, like, they know foreigners come in, right? And English is a very popular language down here as far as foreigners go. So they tried to help. All right, and they did. I was not lost. I do not think you'll get lost in this process. It was so much easier than US bureaucracy. Like, it's gonna sound crazy. It's gonna sound crazy. But trust me, it was so much. Nothing on the website was accurate at all. I had too many things. Let's put it like that. I didn't need all the things I had, but it wasn't like I showed up and didn't have something I needed. So while everything on the website wasn't accurate, it wasn't accurate in a way that did not hurt me at all. Like, I wrote a letter I didn't have to write. Oh no. Like, it was fine. Okay, so I go in the door, they send me to the window, and this is where the fun begins. The guy is looking at paperwork, looking at my passport, looking at my paperwork, looking at my passport, flipping things, and then he's like, I'm not going to get this correctly, but all I heard was papeles and the word mal, which is, I know is bad. Like, I don't speak fluent in Spanish, but I just heard that my papers are bad. And that's not what you want to hear in an immigration office. Like, nobody wants to hear your papers are bad in an immigration office. So I was like, okay, well, what? Okay, so my papers, the form has a line that says name and last name. I put my first name and my last name. My passport has my middle name listed there. And because my middle name was listed on my passport, but it wasn't listed on the online form that I filled out, the guy was like, we can't accept this. That's not you. What he actually said was, this is not your name. Your name is Rashida, middle name. I was like, how are you going to tell me what my name? He was like, no, that is not your name. Your name is Rashida, middle name. Okay. All right. Okay. So then he went to page 2. So he circled so I could see what was wrong. Then he went to this other page. Now there's a drop-down menu that says like country of birth or place of birth. And the country they had listed was the only country that fit in my drop-down, in the drop-down menu for me was the United Kingdom of Britain and Ireland, and of Great Britain and Ireland, or whatever. Great. So I dropped it down. And then there's a line below with a fill in the blank spot that says state, municipality, or province. And I was like, it's not a state, municipality, or province, but I was in the kingdom, right? I was born in England. So let's drop that in. Boop, 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 boop. I went to, so the guy's like, this is not accurate. Your passport says you were born in the United Kingdom. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what it says right there on the first line. It's the United Kingdom. He was like, no. Your passport doesn't say you were born in England. It says you're born in the United Kingdom. So under country, you write the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Ireland, Northern Ireland, blah, blah, blah. And under state, municipality, or province, you have to write United Kingdom. We will not accept this form from you that says England. And I'm like, but it's accurate. They were like, no, your passport says United Kingdom. And I'm like, but those forms weren't asking the same question. Like, that's not what they asked when I filled out United Kingdom isn't the same thing you're asking here. You're asking to be more specific than United Kingdom, which is what it says on the last line. And I was like, no, it needs to say United. I'm not even arguing with him at this point because I was just like, you've already said my name isn't accurate. I need to redo this form. So like, what does it matter? But I need to redo this one line. But I was really like, so you don't want the facts. You just want what my passport says. Like, this is what I need to know. So if you're doing this form, your name is every single name on your passport except for your last name. And your last name is, of course, your last name. Where you were born is whatever it says on your passport. Even if it doesn't answer the question they ask correctly, it's whatever it says on your passport. So it was fun. It was a fun time. So now I'm here. What do I do? They don't let you use your phones inside of their nice, cool air-conditioned office. So I had to go sit outside in the sun with the glare of the sun on the screen and fill out this form, this 2-page form, which I've filled out incorrectly twice now. Fill it out on my phone. Fill it on my phone. Hope I get everything right. Triple check it 1,000 times, right? Sitting outside. And then I don't know if I mentioned, but there's a coffee shop on the way back from the bank. So the bank is about a block away. In that block, there's a coffee shop. I stopped at the coffee shop and got 2 copies of my payment receipt. Went back to the coffee shop the first time. So this is after my second time leaving here. I leave, I go to the coffee shop, I email them the form, they print it out for me with a couple of copies, and I go back about my business. Go back. I get into the Conhay line again. The no appointment, but I need to do a Conhay line. Cool. Go to the Conhay line. A woman takes me inside. And it's a process now. I wish I'd gotten the old guy back. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I'm like now on the opposite side. And so she's going through my paperwork, asking me questions. Doesn't speak any English. She's like, you need to fill out this form. And I'm like, it's a lot of like, you need to sign this. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm signing because I can't use my phone to translate because I can't use my phone in here. And what am I doing? And so the woman a couple seats over would be like, oh, that form says this. You need a form that says this. The first question she asked was what did you tell them when you applied for residency in the US? And I was like, what did I tell them about what? I don't understand your question. Like, that's literally what she said. What did you tell them when you applied for residency? And now I'm starting to worry because I'm like, I don't know what you mean. Like, he asked me a lot of questions. I answered, I don't know what you mean. But they wanted to know what the basis for my residency was, which I thought was interesting because it has already been approved. I already gave all the paperwork I needed, right? In the US. If you saw my last video, you'll know it was a process, but I got through it, right? Like I already went through all of that. So I don't know why we're talking about this again. So I'm worried. I'm worried that this is not going to go the way. I'm starting to sweat, like, what's going on? So they made me fill out a form. They were like, do you have a letter? And I was like, I have a letter saying I want to live here because I enjoy life here, but like, I don't have any other letter. And they were like, okay, you need a letter. Here's a letter saying that you are financially sufficient, like you can support yourself financially, and you applied under financial solvency. And I was like, but I just proved that in the US less than a month ago. Made me fill out a letter. There were a couple more things I had to sign. I legit might have given away a kidney. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I have no idea what I signed because it was in Spanish with no English translation. Fine. Spanish is the official language. Fine. But I can't use any kind of translation app. I think I could have brought a human with me. Maybe, I don't know about now in COVID times, but in non-COVID times, I'm pretty sure I could have brought a human with me. But the forms I was signing were like super long forms with nothing filled in besides my name. So I'm like, I think it's just a standard form. I don't know. If I get deported sometime, I'll figure it out. Like, I don't know what this says, but sure. And so process, went through that. There are a couple other things I signed. I have a feeling that my application was irregular for some reason. I don't know if it's because I look young and I don't look like the average people who come in there with financial solvency as a reason, because the woman who was doing my paperwork had to go talk to the manager. Cool. Came back from the manager, talked to me for a little bit more, then went to go talk to another manager on the floor. But I can see her talking and they're looking at me and they're talking and they're looking at me and they're talking. And then she left that manager and went back to the other manager's office. And I was like, this can't be the process for every human. Like, this is so inefficient that you have to talk to, 2 people at 3 different occasions. to get this done? Like, if this is what everyone has to do, this doesn't make sense. And the people in the row next to her were processing other people's paperwork. They weren't getting up. So I don't know why I was different. But I think I was. Multifaceted Shay says, we're in Mexico. This was in Mexico City. Okay, so we get to the getting to. I finally realized I'm getting approved. This is, I was worried because there was so much conversation going on, but I realized this is actually happening. I get a form that proves that I'm a resident. And then she's like, okay, now you need to get your CURP. This is all in Spanish. I have no idea what she's talking about. But she's like, sorry, I should have explained this before. There's a whole bunch of like lines on the floor that tell you where to go. So there's arrows everywhere. There's arrows. So she's like, what you do is you go here, you take an arrow, follow this arrow, go down to the office, and then wait there. And so there's a little waiting area. I'm sitting down and everyone's sitting down. Next person comes, they sit. We're sitting in line. Yay, not standing. There's lots of seats here. So we're sitting down and she calls people in. And I get my number, which I think is like my foreigner number. So I have like a registration card, but there's also this number, which was odd. Because the lady was like, you have to come back in a year and renew your residency. Cool, I get that. I expected that. No problem. You have to come back in 6 months and renew your CURP. I have never heard of anyone having to renew a CURP before. So I asked her like 4 different times, like, come back here. Yes. In 6 months. Yes. You have to come back in 6 months and renew your CURP. And I was like, are you sure? She was, yes, you have to come back here. Now, the actual documentation doesn't say anything about renewal. It doesn't say that it's only good for a number of months. It just says a date and the date, but it's the date I was given it. So I don't know why I have to come back in 6 months to renew my CURP. I've Googled it. It is not, I could not find anything online that explained it. And that's why I think something may be different about my residency that I was not fully explained, because I have to renew a CURP, which for most people is good forever. Like once they get it, it's just, you have it. Yeah, there's no expiry date. Adelia says, I bet if you show up in 6 months, no one will know what you're talking about. I think that's right. I don't know why she told me to come back. There's no mention anywhere of anyone ever having to renew theirs. And so I was like, what is actually going on here? But I think it's easy enough. I think going there and asking the question will be easy enough, but it's not something I need to worry about. Hey, Anthony, I'm actually live right now. So unless you're watching from the very beginning, you press the live button, you can see me. You just say you're watching the replay. You're just a few minutes behind. Yeah. So no, Annette, there's no expiry date. There's no nothing. It's just a date. It's just the date it was given or the date it was official. And so I don't know what renewing something that isn't renewable, as far as I can tell, means. But the lady kept saying 6 months. You come back in 6 months to renew this. And then you come back in a year for your residency. Abba, it's exactly how you spelled it. It's CURP. Okay. Whatever. I get a CURP. Okay. So now they're like, okay, so now you go upstairs to get your card. Yay, I'm getting my card today. It's not being sent to me. Nothing's happening. Great. Okay, so I had to go upstairs, another little waiting area. So I go upstairs, the waiting area. I hand someone my form. Someone calls my name. I come back. The guy starts asking me questions. And then I realized he's asking me all the questions on the basic form Formato Basico, which is what they call it online. So that is here. It's like, he started by asking me, how many children do you have? And I was like, that's a strange question that I've answered somewhere else recently. The form, right? And then he was like, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? They want it in centimeters. When I did the form, I filled it out in centimeters. When they did, but do I have it in my head in centimeters and kilograms? I do not. So I just grabbed the form, but I've already filled out and handed it to him. I'm like, you're just asking me questions on the form anyway. I think you're actually inputting the answers into the form in your system. I think this is the new process. You fill out the form for us now, it seems like. So I was just like, here's the form. And he kept looking at the page and writing things down, looking at the page and writing things down, looking at the page and writing things down. And I'm like, well, I mean, I would have given you pounds and inches if I hadn't brought the form. So I guess it's worked out really well. I couldn't even whip out my phone to do the conversion because they are very, very clear that phones are not allowed. Unless you're like 3 and you're playing video games. They allowed that. Loud video games, no headphones. But otherwise, no. Okay. I sit there. There's a screen that kind of comes down behind you. The man takes a very ugly photo of you, or maybe just of me. I don't know, but it's hideous. It's like all forehead and then like little baby chin. I'm gonna show y'all. Can you see how like it's all forehead there? I look like I'm sitting like this, but I'm not. So it was a bit of a mess. But I got my card, got my residency card. All in all, that took less than 3 hours. So getting there, getting the information, going to the bank, coming back, printing out the right form, coming back, going through the whole process of whatever happened inside. Don't know what I signed, don't know what happened. The lawyer in me cringes at this, but oh well. Doing all of that process, less than 3 hours, which is why I say it's still easier in US bureaucracy, because I feel like I can't even get a driver's license at the DMV in under 3 hours, much less like a document saying you are now officially allowed to reside in the country. So, yes. So then I went to Costco and I was happy and I was dancing through the aisles. And then like the next day I was sick. So another thing to know, if you have a fever, which I had last week, you will not get into any building anywhere in Mexico City. They are taking temperatures. You might not even get into some parts. Like they are paying attention to that kind of thing. The next day after I did this, I only had 3 days left to do it in. And the next day after I did this, I had a fever. So if I had waited, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have had to leave the country and come back again. So yeah, that was a process. Let us see. So but beyond not knowing what I signed and not knowing why I need to renew my CURP and other people don't. I don't know if this is a new thing and people just aren't talking about it yet, or whether it is a me thing. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Everything that is pretty straightforward. So it's hard to explain it. It was like it was difficult, but straightforward. Like, I think because I wasn't expecting certain things. Like I wasn't expecting that you allow me to write in whatever you have a drop-down menu for all these things, but then you allow me to write in something and then tell me that that's not accurate. When it actually is the accurate answer to the question you asked. Those kind of things where I was like, this was not what I was expecting, but in and out from beginning to end, including going to a bank, going to a copy shop twice, filling out a form on my phone, all of those things taking less than 3 hours. I don't mind. It wasn't bad. Let me see if there's anything in my notes that I forgot to tell you. I think that was it. 4,413 pesos for the temporary application. That was about $220. Cash at the bank. Um, Tea Leaf for Life. No, they did not give me a copy of any paperwork. I didn't even think to ask for it because at this point I was like, I've signed what I've signed. So maybe if you're watching this before you go, if you have to sign anything and you don't understand it, maybe ask for a copy. Maybe. Yeah, no, they didn't give me anything. It was literally like, sign this, sign this. It was like 3 or 4 different things I had to sign, including the financial solvency letter, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, it was overall, I think, a much easier process than it could have been in other countries. Going to INM, I got there at I think they open at 9 and I got there at 9:15 and still 3 hours. It wasn't like, I thought I was gonna have to get there at 8 in the morning to be the very first one there and get everything processed and get in. No. I got there after they opened and I was still out. They close at 1 though, so it was a good thing I was out around 12 because at 1, I don't know if they close to new people coming in or if they close to people who haven't had their work processed yet or what the closing process looks like, but I was out of there before then, so I was very happy about that. It is very much one person in one office does one thing, one person in office does another thing, and then they move you along the way. But overall, it was a really good process. So I'm going to go to the comments and look for questions. If you have them, if you have questions, drop them in the comments now while I'm live, and I will definitely try to help you out. Good morning to everyone who showed up today. Let's see. Kevin says, I plan on staying for 45 months at a time and come back to the States for 1 week at a time in between. I want to do this for a few years starting spring 2023. That might work if you fly in and out. They are giving people a harder time if they are traveling, if they're driving, and if the border they're crossing is Guatemala, they're giving people a harder time about that. But you're not guaranteed 180 days every time. That's the max, but we've seen people recently get 30 days, but they were driving across the Guatemalan border. I think they're trying to catch people who are gaming the system a little bit more. Let's see. Hello, Mary Williams from Tucson. Adelia says, I feel like much of the process changed because of COVID and they just aren't keeping up. But then again, no one has even bothered to look at my basic form even 3 years ago when I did it. Yeah, no, the guy was like, I'm going to ask you all the questions on the form we made you print out and bring multiple copies of. It still says on their website right now that you have to bring your basic form. Oh, and it says you have to bring, I should have mentioned this, photographs. I didn't bring photographs of it, a passport size, because the new process is that they take photographs of you and then they do I think it's easier for them now. They take the photo of you, it's in their system, and then they print it out on the card and give it to you right away. I didn't know what the process was before, but it was super smooth, easy process to get done. So it was kind of the website said bring photographs. I didn't need any. And the website said bring the completed form. Didn't need that. All right. Sandra, you said that Gringo for Gringo dealt with all of the paperwork. Did you still have to go in person to the INM office, or did they do that for you? I'd be interested in that. Sharice loves the hoops, beauty supply, maybe $1.99. Yay. All right. Let's see. My mommy's here. Hey, Mama. Yolanda says this is worse than the DMV. Surprisingly not. It sounds like a lot. It was a lot of I felt like an ant. Gone back to the insect analogy. It felt like I was marching around from desk to desk, but then someone was leading me from desk to desk, desk to desk. But it was pretty easy. Let's see. But if you find anything when you Google CURP about renewal, let me know, because I couldn't find anything when I Googled. But I think I Googled day of and never did it again. So if there's anything new out there, I don't know. Let's see. Hi, Annette. New subby. Love the new subbies. Let's see. All right. Mario says, you're not overwhelmed with being in a new country without speaking the native language? No. Honestly, like, there's less English spoken in Mexico City than there is in the more tourist destinations, the beach towns. But so many things are universal. So many things that we do are universal that you don't. Knowing Spanish is important, but it's not necessary. You non-Spanish speakers get around fine here. You just, you act things out. You get real dramatic. You do things. Like I said, I might have signed away a kidney. I don't know. But assuming they did not steal all of my vital organs or all of the money from my accounts, which I did not give them access to, when I filled out that form, then I've never had a moment where I was like, darn, I don't speak Spanish. This is not going to happen. It's usually like, okay, this is going to be a little bit harder. What I want to do is going to be a little bit harder than it would be if I spoke Spanish, but it's still doable. Jolitha says, if it was that much trouble, why didn't you apply for permanent residency? I did apply for permanent residency. Jolitha, my last video, I explain why I did not get permanent residency. Long story short, because I was applying under economic solvency and I do not get Social Security, the Miami office would not approve my permanent residency, only temporary. Other offices definitely do. We know people in Mexico who have permanent residency who do not get Social Security. So I met the requirements on that Mexico laid out, but the Miami consulate added additional requirements that were not anywhere else. And so I was only allowed to get temporary residency, not permanent. Fun. So I'll be back in INM in 6 months to renew my CURP, or for them to tell me I don't need to renew my CURP, and then in a year for Mexican to renew my residency. Ms. Bailey, too, you can submit the online form online, but you still have to print it and bring copies of it. I don't know why. So you need to print everything. And that actually brings up a good point. I filled out a form, the online form once with my birth date incorrect. I filled it out a second time with my birthday correct, but my birthplace incorrect and my name incorrect because I didn't have all of the names. I filled it out a third time, accurate by their standards. And on that third time, I immediately received an email with a password immediately. So I may not have gotten that email with a password that allowed me to go to the bank and pay for it originally because what they were expecting to see on my form didn't match what they got. But like I said, there was no communication about that. So I don't know if that's the case, but it might be. So if you don't get, my phone is ringing. My phone never rings. Hold on a second. I hate to do this, but usually there's someone downstairs. Where is it? What else? Oh. Sorry, but the only time my phone rings is when there's somebody downstairs and I wasn't expecting anybody. Like I've ordered Uber Eats or something like that. And I'm like, why are you calling me? Yes. So if you don't get an email, it may be because with a password, it may be because they don't see what they're expecting to see in your form. I don't know for sure. I don't know why I got it the third time and not the other 2 times. That's just the way it is. Mrs. Bailey says, my husband is Mexican, so I hope the process is easier. The whole process is confusing. I don't know if you're coming down on like the marital visa, I don't know that it's easier based on the paperwork, based on what I've seen as the application process goes. I don't know that it's going to be easier. But if you speak Spanish, or he does, hopefully you'll get through it a little faster. Let's see. Let us see. All right. I think that's all I have as far as questions. I've answered all the questions. I think I've said all the things. My first video kind of fully describes what happens on the US side. I wanted this video to talk about what happens in the on the Mexican side. So hopefully that was helpful and you have all the information you need. Like I said, while we're live, if you want to drop questions, drop them off. Adelia, if you're still here, is there anything I didn't mention? She's been through the process, so I want to know. And has anybody else been through the process? If you have, let me know. Because it was interesting. It was actually not that bad. It was because I'm used to US bureaucracy, I expected it to be like super complicated. And it really was like, besides the fact that their website was not accurate, besides the fact that they told me things that I don't believe are true, like their renewal, it wasn't that bad. Okay, Adelia says that when you renew, you can renew for 1, 2, or 3 years. So hopefully when I renew, I can get a 3-year renewal, which will take me to the 4-year point where I can get permanent residency. The annoying thing about qualifying for permanent residency and getting temporary is that now I have to go back. And each time I go back, there are going to be more fees and more paperwork like this, more days like this. So I planned, like this was, when I planned for this, it was my whole day. Even if it ends at 1, this was it. And I planned actually 2 mornings. I had this plan mapped out with Delia. I was going to go one morning, get all the information, make sure all my forms were accurate. And then I was going to go back the second morning and get everything done. But I managed to get everything done the first morning. The problem with going there and having them check your documents and make sure everything is accurate is because the woman did that. She checked the documents. She looked at everything and was like, yes, these are all good. And then I went back to the guy and he was like, no, these are not good. I don't know. Okay. So great. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's all I got for you guys. You want to talk about anything else? We're ending a little earlier than I expected. I've got a few minutes. If there's anything you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. Sorry for getting up to answer the phone, but I've really I've never had my phone ring and not expected it before. So I don't know what that was. I didn't order anything. I'm not getting any deliveries. And if I did, I guess they're not calling back. So that's whoever it is they sent away. I don't know. How's healthcare in Mexico City affordable? It is. I just put up another video. Let me see if I can link it in the comments. I just did another video about healthcare in Mexico City. I had to go to urgent care, and that process was surprisingly easy as well. So let me. I'm going to link you that urgent care video. Boom. Okay. Hopefully that'll give you the info you need. It was definitely affordable. My urgent care visit and my prescriptions were $100 with no insurance. So, okay. Is the whole process done in the IMS office? It's INM. It is let's see if I can read this on this form. It's the Institut Nacional de Migración, the National Institute of Migration, INM. And yes, the whole process is done in the same office. So every time I left, I had to come back to the same office. But it was like, I only went a block away. Then I went a half a block away and I came back. So the whole, not the whole neighborhood, but like that block is dedicated for you getting your business done. There's a bank, there are coffee shops, there are there's a photography place, but you don't need photos anymore. And so That was it. Oh yeah. So Sandra said she had to show up 2 times for signatures, pics, and fingerprints. I had to show up. I had to get fingerprints as well on a, newfangled scanning machines. Yeah, it was like it wasn't like it was ink or anything. It was like the fancy fingerprint machines. I have lost the word. Can I recommend a dentist? No, I cannot. I have not been to a dentist here yet. Oh, you had to go back for card pickup. Yeah, my card pickup. The guy and I just sat and stared at each other's face until my card was ready. And he kept turning around because he was right by the guy who processes the cards. And he kept being like, when is it going to be done? And so we just stared at each other for like maybe 5 minutes while we waited for my card to come. And then I left with my card. So I didn't have to go back a second time for card pickup. Sandra, I think you said you did yours in Puerto Vallarta. Did I get that wrong? Different offices are going to have different requirements, and that's why it's best to follow all the directions on the website. Because what I've told you, I told you they didn't need the basic form in Mexico City. Maybe they'll want it in a different city. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe in another different city they'll want photos. I don't know. Mrs. Bailey too says, do I need to go to the consulate during any part of the process? If you're talking about the Mexican consulate outside of Mexico, that's where I went to do the first part of the process. I went to the Mexican consulate in Miami. You need to go to some consulate somewhere in some country to do the first part, some Mexican consulate to do the first part of the process. But you don't have to come to the American anything to do any of that. It's the Mexican consulate in the US or wherever you are or wherever you're going to be. And then the INM office in Mexico. All right. AGL, really, it sounds terrible because there were a lot of steps. There was a lot of being like, okay, next. But if I had the right documents the first time and I had my receipt, this might have been an hour process. Might have been. I still wouldn't know what those papers said. I still can't believe I signed like 4 forms and I have no idea what they said. Whatever. Do you need to get a tax lawyer to help you file American and Mexican income tax, cross-border issues? I file taxes in America. I don't file taxes in Mexico. Your answer will be different depending on how you're doing business and what's going on with you. I can't speak to that. I haven't had any cross-border issues yet. Yeah, Jose, I saw that comment. I did. I saw it. All right. Miss Bailey says Mexicans don't pay income taxes. Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm skeptical about that. I'm not saying you're wrong, Mrs. Bailey, too, but I just have never heard that they don't pay tax, like that there are no income taxes. Okay. She has the possibility to use the immigration lawyer to sort everything out. Yes, you don't have to. Like I said, I didn't understand a lot of it, but I got done. If I had an immigration lawyer with me, they would have been able to explain the forms I was signing, but I think that's the only benefit I would have gotten out of it. AGL, they wouldn't let me use my phone, and that's why I couldn't use the Google Translate app. You can't use phones in there. So I couldn't even take a picture of what I signed to look at later because no phones. Let's see. Oh, thank you, AJ. Let's see. What is the cost? I explained the cost on the US side in my last video. I'm going to link to that in these comments because I don't remember off the top of my head. And then here for the process in Mexico, it was 4,413 pesos, which is about $220. Oh, no worries, AGL. I just wanted you to know that, like, If there was a way to translate, I would have, but there wasn't. It was actually funny because when I was filling out the form online, I had a question about what to do. And so I'm filling out my form. And so I want to ask the one guy who I know speaks English, who's the information guy, I want to ask him what I'm supposed to do, like what I'm supposed to press at this step. And I have my phone in my hand and I go to security and they're like, you can't bring the phone inside. You can't have the phone out inside. I'm like, yes. But that guy who's like 10 feet away from you, I want to ask him a question about the form. Like, we have to put your phone away. I'm like, but the form is on my phone. And they were like, great, but you got to put the phone away. And finally, one of them was like, if he says you can take your phone out, you can take your phone out. Okay, so I go to him and I was like, I have a question about the form that's on my phone in my pocket. He's like, well, take it out. So he had no problem with me having my phone out, but you weren't allowed to have it out anywhere else. So he answered my question. And in doing so, he deleted everything I had completed on the form. So I had to go back. I think I blocked out that part. He deleted the form. And so I had to go outside and fill it out again. So that was my 4th time filling out the form. And then go to the copy place and print it out. And all of that in under 3 hours. It was not a terrible experience. Let's see. Who was I sending this to? Someone asked. What's the cost? Okay. Tyrelius says, since you have a foreign residency, you do not pay your American state and city tax too. State and city tax might be accurate. My home base is Florida, so I wasn't paying a state tax anyway. But that federal government wants their money. So if anyone reads that, don't get confused and don't think you don't have to pay American taxes. The federal government will always want your money. There are ways to get out of paying taxes if you live abroad. Those ways won't apply to me. It's like not being in the US, for like almost the entire year. I'm going to be in the US generally a bunch. So that's not going to work. I just got invited back. Okay, so if you know my story, you know that I came back to the US last year, 2019, for my cousin for her birthday party. And then I hurt my knee the day after I was there, or the night I was there, it landed, I don't know. And then I couldn't leave the US for a year. This same cousin sent me an invite to her daughter's first birthday party. And I was like, now you know, I will come back to America, but never on your invitation. Never. I got stuck in the US for a year because I couldn't walk and then COVID. And I had to have knee surgery because I came back for your birthday party. And you think I'm gonna come back for your daughter's birthday party? She's 1? Tell her auntie loves her, but not enough to show up. I don't. Thank you, S. Hughes, for the dollars. Ow, dollars make me dance. Okay, my mom was watching this, so. All right. Anthony, I don't know if you can hire a translator to go with you during COVID times. I'm sure outside of COVID times, you probably could. I just don't know what they're allowing now about, like, if you have to actually be doing paperwork to get inside, because while I was there were a lot of people waiting outside. Like, they came with someone else and couldn't go inside. And so I don't know what it is. But I did see, as a lawyer, I could identify immigration lawyers who were there. And so if they let lawyers in, they probably let translators in too, but I don't have a definite answer for you. And I don't know if you're going to definitely find one unless you talk to a company that does that work. Because I would say you could check the INM's website, but it's all a lie anyway. So it's not accurate. It's not up to date. All right. Multifaceted Shay. I'm dropping off the video where I talked about the fees on the US side, like I said, on the Mexican side for 1 year temporary residency that I will have to renew and pay more fees for in a year was 220 US dollars, 4,413 pesos. All right. Let's see. Let's see. I think that is it, y'all. All right. I think that's it. It's been an hour. That's how much I like to talk for. And then I'm out of here. Um, like I said, thank you, S. Hughes, for the cash. Thanks for everyone who showed up. I appreciate you guys so much showing up here. I try to go live every Sunday unless I don't feel like it, and then I don't. My girl Adelia, who I believe is still here, also goes live on Sundays. So we often alternate Sundays. She was live last Sunday. And then a lot of you know Stephanie Perry. She goes live on Saturday mornings. Yesterday we talked about where the rich foreign men are, which countries to go to find them. And we talked about golden visas. And I was thinking about doing a follow-up video to her video all about golden visas. If you'd like to know more about the places where you can buy your way into residency or citizenship, let me know. Drop a comment and let me know if you're interested in that and what specific country you would like to get residency in or citizenship in. And we'll talk later. Until next time, yay. And thanks for everyone for finding me here because I told you, new mic, yay. New camera added to the rotation. Not so much a yay. That did not work out as planned. But till next time. Talk to you guys later. Bye.